Hey everyone, Ed here with Davis Pickleball. Today I'm going to share with you 6 pickleball accessories that you absolutely need if you are a pickleball addict like me. Alright, so first thing on the list is Tacky towel. You probably have seen me post on Instagram about this before, but this thing is a money saver because essentially what it is, it's a towel that feels kind of like a I mean, I'm touching it already, my hands are already sticky. It feels kind of like zappy almost, but what you do is you put it onto your old overgrip. So this is a overgrip that I've used for a few weeks, and all you do is take this little towel here, gently press it onto your overgrip here, and check this out. You hear that? It makes it insanely tacky. So even if it's old, you can make it feel like brand new again, and this thing is not gonna fall out of my hands. So this is something that I carry around with me in my bag all the time, just in case I don't want to. I'll take out my tacky towel, put a bit on my hand, put it on my overgrip, and that overgrip's gonna feel good as new. It won't last a very long time. It'll typically last me like one day, but this is just a good thing to have if you just want a slight boost in the stickiness of your handle, which honestly for me, it really helps me to hit harder because I don't have to squeeze my handle as much to keep it in my hand, but I could just rely on the stickiness of my handle to have that friction onto my handle. So that is number 1, tacky towel. Highly recommend it. Number 2 is going to be edge guard. All right, so I see a lot of people not putting edge guard on your paddles, especially if you own a more expensive paddle like the Lab 6. I definitely recommend edge guard just because you don't want to be paddle tapping with your friend, and we all have that one friend who paddle taps way too hard. I don't know what their deal is. Maybe it's because they don't own an expensive paddle, so they don't care what happens to their paddle. But yeah, you definitely want to invest in some nice edge guard to protect your paddle. They come in black and white. I like using Selkirks. I've talked about it before, but Selkirks are thicker and they fit my paddle way nicer, and they actually are cloth based, so they don't like fray and like melt in the sun like most edge guards I've used. I know some people use like electrical tape. That will work fine too, but honestly, I just kind of like the feeling of this cloth-based edge guard. I think it protects it a little bit better. I like using white on mine just because I like the way it looks and coordinates with my handle. Edge guards do add a little bit of weight to your paddle. It's not a lot, but I do talk about it because you are adding edge guard onto the top of your paddle, which will increase the swing weight and power by a little bit. So that is something to consider, is if you have a paddle that's already pretty heavy and you're like, I don't want to add more weight to it. Do note that the edge guard here does weigh 0.14 ounces. I weighed it just a second ago, and it does, I feel like, help increase a little bit more swing weight and power onto the top of the paddle. Not much, but worth mentioning. All right, number 3, you've probably seen my weird looking paddle handle already, but this paddle handle here is the Hesacore grip. I am a huge advocate of the Hesacore grip. I know it's not for everybody. It is definitely a more unique handle shape, but I think it's gonna help a lot of people because of the way that it's ergonomically shaped. So Hesacore grips, you actually take off your stock grip of your normal handle, you take that all off, and then you put this on. It's a rubber sleeve that you slip right on. I just released a video about it. Go check that out. You put it on, and then it has this hexagon shape. And what it does is when you hold your paddle, each finger lands in each little groove, so it's ergonomic. That helps you to not have to feel like you have to squeeze down on your paddle, but it feels like a glove, and it's not gonna fall out of my hand. There's no way this is coming out of my hand. So I'm a huge advocate of this because for beginners who are still trying to figure out what grip they're trying to hold, how to hold their paddle, and they're holding it in all sorts of different places and they're switching it midpoint, the Hesacore grip will help teach you to be like this. Yep, this is where my fingers are all landing on. There's no wriggle room. This is my grip, continental grip. So I highly recommend the Hesacore grip for both beginners and intermediates. Honestly, great addition and accessory to my paddle. I'll put a link in the description below on where you can get these. I believe my link gives you 15% off, so support the channel and use my link. Thank you. So number 4 is the carbon cleaning block. This one is by Selkirk. You could purchase them, I believe CRBN has them too. You could get them on Amazon as well. I used to purchase giant blocks that are actually for sandpaper cleaner. They do pretty much the same thing, but those things were just too big and it was like nearly impossible to cut. I almost cut my finger trying to cut them up. These ones just come in these small portable blocks, which I quite like. I also like the texture of these a little bit more. They feel more rubbery, but these things are great if you have a carbon fiber paddle. So it will not work if you use a fiberglass paddle, graphite paddle, wood paddle. Don't use this on that, it won't do that much. This will only really be effective on raw carbon fiber because raw carbon fiber uses weaves on the surface. So there are tiny, tiny little microscopic pockets, and this is what helps pick off those pickleball debris off of those pockets, tiny little pockets. For paddles that are spray paint based, it won't really work. So I already cleaned this paddle earlier, but I always keep one of these in my bag just so I can make sure that each time I'm playing, I have a clean, gritty paddle. Okay, number 5, we have the tungsten tape. So a lot of you may know this more as lead tape, but I like Selkirk's because they use tungsten, which is not toxic, versus lead, which you do not want to be touching with your bare hands and getting all over your handle and all that. You typically do want to use electric tape to cover that up, but you don't really have to worry about it with tungsten tape, so I prefer this. If you're not familiar with what this does, it is super great at adding weight to specific distributions of your paddle. So if you wanted more power, I would put more tungsten tape on the top part of your paddle. If you wanted more stability and control, you put that near the throat of your paddle so that when you hit near the bottom, you're not gonna get as many miss hits, and it just kind of helps stabilize your hand a little bit. I will say though, that tungsten tape, you don't want to put on too much, otherwise your paddle could feel too heavy, and you're in the hands battles and quick hand speeds, you might be lacking a little bit. So use this, I would say better to err more on the left side and work your way up versus adding too much and feeling too slow. So that's my recommendation. Okay, and last but not least, this is not technically pickleball specific, but I use this every single day. And if you're a pickleball addict like me, you definitely need it. You probably see it on my table already, and that is the Theragun. So the Theragun is a massage gun that's a little bit different than the typical Amazon brands that you might use. I used to use those Amazon brands too that you get for like 40, 50 bucks. But the difference is this right here. The oscillation of a Theragun hits 16 millimeters, which means it punches in a little bit deeper than the typical brand, which only gets about 11 to 13 millimeters. I've done a lot of research and most brands don't do 16 millimeters just because that's a little bit harder, I guess, for them to make. But 16 millimeters feels really, really good, and that's why this hits so differently. Also, the heads that they use here are kind of spongy but firm, so you can use it on your bone area and it doesn't feel like it's gonna break your bone or something. It feels really good, so I could just be more liberal with it. I like to use it for my hips here. Yeah, that feels really good. So yeah, I highly recommend the Theragun. It is a little bit pricier, but well worth every single penny. I use it every single day. It has good battery life, and my recovery has just been so much faster, and I feel so much better on the courts because of my friend right here. Thank you, Theragun. Okay, everyone, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment below if I missed anything that is your favorite pickleball accessory that I didn't put on my list. And if you found this video useful, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.